30, and it was Hare Krishna's, but so, I mean, it doesn't matter who it was, but so loud, and there were announcements because there were delays on the L and on the 4 and the 5, and it was a cacophony, a total cacophony. And the decibel level was way high.
So you could not hear the announcements?
You could hear them, but your head was exploding because there was so much going on.
Okay, Ken, what station are you referring to now?
Columbus Circle, downtown A train.
Right.
Right, the best place for me to get on the train is right, your favorite place to perform. And it's not that it's terribly loud, and that's the traditional police officer figured it's a decibel problem. It's not a decibel problem as much as a location problem.
Location problem, yeah.
Because the A train is very quiet. More than once, the A train has actually arrived, opened its doors, loaded, and left without me even hearing that it was there. In addition to, of course,
You didn't even hear the ding dong when it left?
No.
Wow.
Yeah, they're getting kind of louder.
That particular equipment.
R46s have the ding dong, so.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
the A train is the quietest train I know
But
of.
it's
in the whole
not being
system.
done as loud as it used to
No.
be, because they
It
get
sneaks in and
older.
sneaks out.
Well, there's also the performer on the northbound 123 platform at Times Square, who gets a pretty big crowd going, and good luck to moving down that platform
Yeah.
safely.
Also Columbus Circle, southbound 1, they've taken to congregating. You've got the religious folks against the wall. You've got, I'm right there on the ramp, they're performing.
Oh, yeah.
So that it's right next, the problem is that then you're blocked from getting to the elevator.
You're blocked from getting out, you're blocked from getting down to the IND from that's, I've seen that one myself. All right, we're gonna have to, maybe we'll have to get
Who
police back here and
But who do you want it forwarded to? You or Bill?
send it to the office, to Bill.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, how about anything else before we move to new business? Because we want to get to our freedom ticket report, it's really exciting. Any new business, otherwise, yes, Edith, and then Scott.
I had a rather, part of why I'm late is because I actually tried to talk to the booth person at Dykeman. You know, I mean, I love trying, I should just have a card, the ADA says you have ice that's 2 inches thick, and the path was so narrow, my castard fit over this is not 4 feet. And you say, could you have your person come out and remove more of that? And the guy's screaming at me, there's the ramp, take the ramp. And I'm coming around the curve, which is what I have to do to come down from Fort George. So I think that in general, the snow and ice removal has been disastrous this year. I will say that.
You're talking about Dykeman on the A?
Dykeman on the 1.
On the 1, okay.
Right.
So
So come
it's at
down
Nagel
Fort George
Avenue.
Hill.
Okay.
Right,
Yeah.
well, whatever avenue you want to call it.
Right.
But the MTA has to at least the gate.
That's right.
And this guy is just telling me, no, we have no responsibility. I don't even know who to talk to about it.
Did you get his badge number?
No, he didn't have a badge number.
They're not having them a lot.
They're fine.
Most of the booth
What day
agents
was this,
do.
Edith?
On my way here.
Oh, okay, so we can figure out who it was.
Right.
You don't have the booth number though, do you?
I can figure it out.
Okay.
It's only 1.
Okay. Obviously, it's only on the downtown side.
Right.
Obviously, so.
I mean, there's only 1 booth there.
And what time were you there?
11:15.
Downtown 1, booth 11:15. I mean, we've had amazing melting in the last few days, but there are still some places.
Well, this is actually in the curve, under the tracks,
So it's
and
not
around
getting
the
sunlight.
building, so it's not sunlight hitting
Okay.
it. Also, I would like to speak about the disparity of information. I get how many emails about the train's being moved. It tells me what traffic's going to be running on. The A is now going to be a D, whatever. The entire system simply says, oh, buses are slow because they're removing snow. Yesterday, there was a Con Ed on, I think, Fifth Avenue, and buses were being diverted. And there was something on 110, and there's something down here. You know what? Give us a bloody clue. Where the hell is the damn bus now? If they're rerouting Madison or Fifth, where are they routing them to?
Are you on the bus time website or,
I got it. I get all the emails.
and it doesn't show you visually?
It doesn't tell you.
It's very.
Well, there's two bus time.
I know.
There's telling you how far away the bus is, but then there's a visual on, is that the one you're on and you still don't see any?
It doesn't tell where the damn bus is now. And, you know, I mean, and you have tourists standing out there waiting for a bus and waiting for a bus. I mean, you know, my fantasy is,
When was this, Edith?
we have today, we have yesterday.
Today you're not seeing where buses are?
No. I'm not seeing where they're being rerouted. The question is the
If
information,
they're rerouted, it's not showing.
you know, if you can tell me where a train is, why can't you tell me where a bloody bus is?
That's very simple, actually. That's much simpler with a train, because they're on a fixed guideway and a bus could choose a route that just, it can get through. And who knows if,
There's road work or something.
Carol, I understand that, but still tell me where the hell I'm getting on this bus. If the M5 is being blocked coming down Broadway, I believe they should tell you where it's coming down. You know, they used to put up those little paper signs saying, bus rerouted, you know, this, you know, da-da-da-da. You can't, I mean, it's
But
like,
that's 2 days later. By the time you get the sign up, it's not quite instantaneous.
Not long.
Edith, we're gonna look into this.
it's just, I
I'm
really
gonna
think
ask, we're gonna ask the
that
bus people.
Do you get
when-
the email alerts?
Gets
They
everything.
don't, they don't put,
everything.
they don't put.
Right,
put-
but then it directs you to mta.info.
Oh, exactly, and you go to mta.info, and you can't find anything.
It doesn't, there's
There's
no
nothing.
specific bus stuff.
They don't put it.
I mean, they could, what they could do is they have a message that they stick at the top of the bus time that is sort of general. It just says sort of like, you know.
Reddish.
Yeah, it's
that-
red.
Yeah, it's in red. I mean, why can't they put diversions on that, you know, that this is being rerouted onto whatever
And
street?
Bill,
All I wanna know is what avenue I
Yeah.
should go to.
We're
No,
Between
let
what,
me finish.
between X and X street.
Buses
it's
now
being-
running on, you
It's
know,
now,
Right.
it's running
And it was
on.
interesting, because I always thought it was like 120
7,000, whatever it
characters.
is.
I got a Subway announcement, it was 5 lines today. So, yeah, come on, if you can put that much information in, it's just really the
okay.
total disdain of the MTA for the surface transit,
We're
the
gonna look
bottom
at it.
line.
I don't think it's on a par with the subway, for sure. For sure.
But they need to be fixed on the buses because they have the same issue.
Go ahead, Scott.
Okay. South Ferry, turnstiles and temporary entrance,
Yeah.
2 to 4 are working. And you have 2 people getting off a boat trying to get into 4 turnstiles. The other alternative is going across Water Street, where it's 2 narrow subway entrances. I know they're doing resiliency and the main entrance is closed, but these turnstiles have to work. And they're basically turnstiles around the elements. They're 10 feet in from the wind and the rain, so.
How do you think transit did on restoration of Staten Island Railway?
They're doing it now. They're wrapping up now in the St. George Terminal.
No, I mean, after the storm.
After
I mean, it was shut down during the storm.
oh, Monday there were delays and that was it.
There were just some delays on
Yeah.
Monday?
Trains were running, but not, it was fine.
They were basically back with Metro North.
Yeah, they were back
Oh,
Sunday.
when it was like 3 p.m. on
Yeah,
Sunday.
Yeah, they were back Sunday night.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there were rush hour delays, but after that, it's been nothing.
Staten Island Railway is showing virtually record increases in ridership.
Yeah, with 2 drivers actually. And there's no way to put new train cars because you can only go 4 cars long.
They're on order.
Yeah, but you can only do 4 cars
Yeah.
I
because
know.
the terminal.
I know, because of the length of the platform.
It's only 400 feet long, so.
Anything else before we move to, yeah, go ahead.
There are a number of places where the lollipops are missing for various reasons. And I went to DOT, one of which is in front of the George Washington Bridge, where they're doing construction. But there is no, there's a lollipop that says something about, you know, detour. But there's nothing that tells you the stop number. So people are out there trying to find the time on bus time, and they can't because there's neither the little square thing, nor is there a number for the stop.
And there's no guide or ride attached to that lollipop.
None.
On the southbound, there's nothing at all. On the northbound, there's a lollipop with a detour sign on it, and that's it. Now, I did speak to DOT, and nothing seems to be happening, so I just wanted to let you guys know.
Okay. And where is this lollipop?
One north and southbound on Broadway between 178 and 179. It's at the George Washington. I mean, I would just put paint the number on the plywood. That would be good enough.
It'd be better because you could read it.
Right. Only problem is they repaint the plywood
Broadway.
for the graffiti. So this is the 5, the 7, and the 100.
Got it. And you all know that there will be public hearing in March on the split of the M5. The current plan is to split it at 37th and 5th Avenue. Several community boards have said they think the split should be further south, but the fact is it has to be split because there is such inconsistency with the bus getting to South Ferry that they're turning a lot of runs prior to it going all the way down,
And can you
the
say
southern
this
riders are
is-
losing service.
Well, excuse me. The north is losing service too because buses are being taken out at 135 on a regular basis. I have waited on the drive for 45 minutes and found out, eventually, by calling the bus command, that 3 buses were turned around. If you're gonna turn around buses, don't do them in a row. It's the same exact problem we have coming down on Fort Washington, where you'll have a number of buses in a row taken out.
Yeah, well, some of the boards in Harlem and Washington Heights and the Upper West Side feel that 37th Street is not far enough south. That this will mean a two-seat ride for a lot of them, and I think 14th Street Southern Terminus, like where the 7 used to end, might be a good way to do the M5 split. But I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
Consideration when they can do it, with available curb space.
Well, when
From
they're
Fifth
gonna have a
Avenue
hearing,
over to
they're gonna
Sixth
have a
Avenue, it
hearing,
could be
so
done.
we would,
Do you want to testify?
We would do it.
Should there be a testimony?
Well, that's my board. That's my community board's opinion. That's not everybody's opinion. So,
But does this group want to
Yeah.
have an opinion?
Yeah.
do you, Sharon, you have an-
And is the question, is there one centralized bus dispatch or is it regional?
No.
There are
They have
different
something
bonds.
called Bus Trek now. They can look and see where every bus is, which is why they said if it looks like there's a fair number of people on the southbound bus, when it arrives at 37th Street, they will know that in advance, and they will make sure that another bus is waiting right as soon as it reaches 37th Street to take them further south. But
Please, fantasy.
it sounds great, but
No, but I mean, is that one person's doing the whole system or they have it broken down so they can pay more
they have
attention?
a bus command center, and they look and they see where every bus is.
they have controller, I think eventually they'll have controllers with specific responsibilities for
Okay.
routes.
Eventually.
Eventually.
One of the concerns that we do have in 12 is the fact that we have, almost never do we have the guys on the sidewalk anymore.
Yep.
And we really do feel that we're gonna get the
Well,
short
actually,
shaft
you
here.
do have guys on the sidewalk because 5 to 10 times a week, I'm calling the Manhattan Command and telling them there's a bus with a wrong sign on it and giving them the bus number. And the guy frequently tells me that that guy passed 2 street dispatchers and they didn't tell him. Yeah, we have to move on to our main event, folks, we really do.
I know, but you have this, you didn't discuss the bus
What is that?
change, the new
Oh,
timetable.
yeah, that's our quarterly exercise on bus adjustments.
No, because I just want to say, it's a good, I don't have any problems with what I'm seeing.
Well, people on the M11 might differ with you.
I'm broke when I'm talking about that. I mean, that may happen.
So let's, who's gonna start the freedom ticket?
Well, you want to put up the.
Oh, it's got to be lit up.
you want to
Okay,
put
let me
the-
move.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You got a pretty fancy plastic cover.
This is summer.
They know about it. Whether it's enough for them, you know, it's
Hey, can I get the rest of the paper?
I don't have any. Does everybody have a copy of the presentation?
Are we putting it up on the screen? I mean, I think everybody does.
Yeah, here I are.
Oh, looks perfect.
Where are you? Literally.
Hello. I'm in the chair report I mentioned.
Oh, okay. And you said I was going to be late. I looked at it.
I know, I heard you.
Literally.
Witness, she just said she did it, you can get smacked.
Yeah, okay.
To do what?
How many times should we be
I mean,
presenting to them?
several invitations you can extend to them. Well, Peter's been pleased with that day.
I wonder if this is history or what. I was just like.
Break up that way?
Front down.
Is that okay?
I can see it. I'm in the middle.
And can we
Rather
get
show us
the
the-
entire report as well?
Email. I mean, I never got the email.
Oh, I thought you had.
Should we start?
Yeah.
You go to the next.
Oh, yeah, sorry. There we go. Okay, great. And this is a project that the PCAC's been working on for a long time. Andrew's been actively involved in pushing it, so we decided to take it on. With TRC, we really wanted to make sure it would be a proposal that would not be dismissed by the MTA. So there were three areas that we wanted to make sure we covered initially, which was operationally, could the Long Island Railroad, if it was to lower its price within New York City, like the city stations, did they have the capacity to take on the new ridership that would come in? And Bradley's going to talk to you about the findings, but there was clearly substantial seat availability and capacity on board the trains. The second major thing we wanted to cover was the financing of the program, because there could be a problem in suggesting a discount for city residents that people, say for example on Long Island, Nassau and Suffolk County weren't getting. And so for that reason, we made the proposal based on funding from the city to cover the cost, so that essentially we were saying any locality can decide that it would be beneficial to their residents to have a less expensive fare. And so if they thought that was valuable in Nassau County, they too could contribute to help that. And then the third was to create a plan that could be implemented and not wreak havoc on the system. And so we broke it down into three what we thought would be manageable phases. The first phase in Southeast Queens, which we'd like to see implemented in 2017. And again, these phases are coordinated with the fare increases, so they'd be a natural progression. We've talked about Southeast Queens and the difficulty they've had in, railroad in their backyard, yet charging a fare.
And they've long been promised the subway and never got one.
Yes. In phase two, we are proposing an expansion to other underserved areas that are 0.8 miles or more from the closest subway station. And that would, we'd like to see that implemented in 2019, and that's expanding 0.8 miles or more from the subway station in both Metro North territory and Long Island Railroad territory. And then in phase three,
We're asking that it really be integrated into the East Side Access planning effort, where at that point you really start to get having one fare that could work wherever you'd like to go in a very smooth transition for all transportation within the city of New York.
Excuse me, you said 8 miles or 40?
0.8 miles, 0.8 miles.
And starting in 2020, well, it's really 2022 now, that East Side Access is scheduled to, if everything falls into
Right,
place
yeah.
perfectly. But that would mean both Penn Station and Grand Central access, so that would change things.
But what we're actually saying, we want the thinking to be along with how they're thinking about East Side Access and how they're thinking about how ridership is really gonna shift dramatically once East Side Access comes in and the Penn Access and all of that. We want this to be discounted fares like at Co-op City to make that really successful Metro North station a reasonable fare with you.
Well, because you're doing tariff
Sorry.
changes on these years that you might,
Right.
you can put the tariff in place to be implemented when East Side Access opens.
So, and moving forward, why Southeast Queens for the pilot? And we really thought that Southeast Queens would be a very good test case to work out kinks that they may find operationally or, onboard ticketing or offboard. So, but Southeast Queens was the only area that actually had 6 stations clustered together that were 0.8 miles from the nearest subway. So, and where they'd be getting faster commute times at a more affordable price. To give you an example of the time savings and the costs with Freedom Ticket, right now, you'd have to, in order to reach Grand Central Terminal by 9 o'clock in the morning, from Rosedale, you would have to leave at 12 minutes after 7. If you were to take New York City Transit at a cost of $116.50. But with the Freedom Ticket, you could leave almost an hour later at 8:06 and paying a premium fare, which is $215 a month. And so the time savings is really substantial.
But that's still cheaper than putting the railroad and the subway fare together.
Yes,
Yes.
which we're gonna see in the next slide. It's
Oh.
coming, it's coming.
And let me just also say that Southeast Queens here is a bit of poetic license in that the Queens Village station is included in this, which is sort of mid-eastern Queens as opposed to southeast Queens.
Right, but for the purpose of this
Right.
study, it was rational to include
Right,
it.
because many people living in Cambria Heights, they can actually access.
Yeah, and you including Hollis as well? Is that
Yes,
the other one?
it's along the
Yeah,
way,
okay.
so.
May I ask one question, and I don't like to interrupt usually, but where are you getting your Freedom Ticket to start your journey? Where are you gonna buy it, purchase it?
There are a couple of thoughts
If
along
you're in an
that.
area that's underserved and doesn't have subway access,
At a railroad station.
united it, that's
Yes.
the
There's a
plan.
machine
And
at
there are,
Railroad.
yeah, I
No.
mean,
Machine.
I've never heard it discussed.
it largely
That's-
depends on what the fare option is at the time, but if you could do this with MetroCard. So you could do it at a railroad station with a railroad's fare, with a railroad's,
I mean, some, you
What
could-
is the
there's
cheapest-
also merchants
What's
that
going
say-
forward?
What's the comparative cost?
We're
moving to-
we're about to get
No, probably a different question. For people who, thinking of the Bronx now, people who are taking the express bus versus taking,
Which is, so that is,
that is coming, okay, fine.
Okay, so here we go. So here's, we're moving towards our comparative costs and time differences. So, again, from Rosedale, if you took the express bus, you'd have to leave at 7:24 for a price of $229. Now, what we did throughout, Edith, is we wanted the Freedom Ticket cost to be pretty comparable to express bus.
Right.
So that we split it. Ideally, what happens is you have a premium fare, which is express bus and Freedom Ticket. And then you have your standard fare, which is the current New York City Transit fare. So here, and then a lot of people also in Southeast Queens take the commuter van plus the subway, and their cost is $204.50.
And they're inaccessible.
Right. So you can see that then you get at the end, and the $215 a month where you're getting a Freedom ticket, which allows a free transfer to the subway, becomes economically feasible for two groups already. But the full fare right now for the Long Island Railroad and the subway is $334.50. So that's where it's really, people are walking, under the tracks to, or driving or whatever, they're in their backyard to go up to Jamaica. So that's why.
Of course, that express bus time is with
Traffic.
normal traffic.
Yeah,
Those
depending on,
are the
right,
schedule, those are the
Traffic
scheduled
is
times.
scheduled. Ideally, this is it,
Right.
but that's the idea.
next to me.
And another consideration is the stress of if you miss the train, you've missed the whole.
Right,
Yeah.
yes. So, having said that, I'm going to pass it off to Bradley, who has done the analysis for this on the seating capacity, and he'll run through that.
So as Ellen had mentioned before, the only way for Freedom Ticket actually to happen, that there has to be available seats on the railroad. And as she mentioned before as well, that there are plenty of seats to be had. So what we did is we used 2014 Long Island Railroad ridership numbers, and we divided it into 3 segments. The first coming from Southeast Queens stations to Jamaica, and then from Jamaica to Penn Station, and also Jamaica to Atlantic Terminal. And so basically, for the first segment between Southeast Queens stations and Jamaica, we found that 34% of the seats are empty, for nearly 22,000 empty seats. And then P and Peak, 39% of the seats are empty for a little over 23,000 empty seats. And then moving on to the second segment between Jamaica and Penn Station, we found that nearly a quarter of the seats are empty during the AM peak at 23%, and during the PM peak, 26% of the seats are empty. And then moving on to the third segment between Jamaica and Atlantic Terminal, we found the greatest capacity conditions, where you have nearly half the seats are empty during the AM peak, and you have over half the seats empty during the PM peak. So as you can see from the 3 different sets of findings, there are plenty of seats to be had by commuters such as in Southeast Queens. They're currently right now producing no revenue for the MTA, and also are priced out of the hands of people coming from transit or certain areas. So,
But it goes back to where the tickets are available again. Wouldn't you then have people, Long Island Railroad riders, want to use that cheaper ticket to go?
We'll talk about that.
We'll get into that.
It's going to go over that
Okay.
stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Bill. He's going to go over the cost and finance.
Okay, so it's, you do get the people do get a substantial savings on buying Freedom Ticket versus buying the LIR and the transit fare at the end of it. And, we looked at doing 3 different types of tickets, essentially creating a monthly out of a composite of what Express Bus is right now. So monthly Express Bus, but we basically took the same relationship between weeklies and 30 days as found on the regular Metro card, and we applied that to Express Bus and came up with a $215 fare. It's substantial savings. Unfortunately, what that's going to do, unfortunately, is it's going to reduce costs to a point where, for not every rider in Southeast Queens, but for a substantial number of people who are commuting jobs in Southeast Queens, it will reduce costs to a point where they can afford to take the quicker ride, and maybe even save some money on childcare, have more time to spend with their families. The bad thing is that everyone who's currently taking the LIRR within the city, and maybe even some of the people who are outside the city who might be tempted to drive in, they're also going to want to get that lower cost fare. So we're estimating that there's going to be a revenue loss, and in the Southeast Queens area, we're estimating a revenue loss of $4.3 million per year. which is not, you know, which is not chicken feed, but it's not nearly the sort of the apocalyptic kind of numbers that some people in transit or some people at the MTA have floated when this kind of subject has come up.
I have to bring something up. Everybody of an elected official nature, and including the DOT commissioner that we've discussed this with, have said, for the city to sign on and for this to work, the Far Rockaway station, even though it's not considered part of city ticket, would have to be included in this, because the Rockaways have a very long commute. So I guess the question is, are we gonna revise this proposal to show the Far Rockaway station as being included in Southeast Queens at some point, and the concomitant, as Beverly would love to say, the concomitant amount of loss?
We can, and I think that we think that there are ways to there are basically ways to manage the Far Rockaway station so that you don't have the revenue loss other than people coming over the border.
You wouldn't lose people from
But you
getting
wouldn't-
on an
yeah, you
Inwood,
wouldn't-
Lawrence,
you wouldn't lose
Cedarhurst,
people
Woodmere,
buying a
Hewitt.
ticket early, you know, for Far Rockaway and getting on at those intervening
Yeah.
stations.
That
I
would
think
be-
there are ways to do that.
Since you brought up elected officials, do you want me to talk
No,
now
I have a
about my
perfect
whole
place for you.
experience?
I have a perfect place for you to come in, you'll see.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, because
So-
that's why I rushed here to.
No, you're gonna be on, don't worry.
I want to go back to the ticket mechanism and
Okay.
revenue loss.
Okay.
Did they ever think of maybe limiting the focus, doing something like what you do with Staten Island, Easy Pass holders? So it's done by mail subscription. You are verifying the person's address by mailing the material. What if we did this by subscription? And, you know, if it's on a monthly basis, people, you know, it's like Easy Pay Express, the technology is there. But it would help stem the loss of the revenue, and only the true people who would need it.
You could.
For the pilot.
You could. I mean, there are a lot of, you know, I mean, there are a lot of revenue, there are a lot of options you could go with. One of the issues with that is, does that cut out the people who, because we've also assumed that there would be a daily and possibly weekly fare. You know, that would be really tough on those folks. And there are people who take occasional trips. I mean, just as there are occasional express bus riders now. I mean, the people who take an express bus to get there, you know, if they're running late, they gotta get home to pick up the kid from daycare. They'll take the express bus, otherwise they'll take a, you know, they'll take.
Coming from a meeting.
Or whatever, yeah,
Yeah.
for whatever reason. There are people
Right.
who will use an express bus, not necessarily every day, or enough to buy the 7-day card, but they'll use it on an occasional basis, and we're not sure, you know, I think we'd have to look at how that balances out.
Did we look at City Ticket and see how they try to deal with this
Um,
issue when that was being rolled out for those very same communities?
Well, essentially they don't. Anybody can buy a city ticket.
Yeah, I mean, could somebody
No,
go,
they researched this issue, and
somebody could,
Right, I know they know that.
The city ticket can only be, I mean, I don't know if this answers your question, but city ticket is programmed on the ticket machines only within the city. So if you're at a station